Did you know that every night I get between 10 and 15 hours of sleep? You're probably thinking, that seems excessive, and you're right, it is. But what if I told you that every single morning I still wake up tired? And that if I get less than 10 hours of sleep a night, my body starts to do something a bit odd. It begins to hurt everywhere. It feels like there are weights tied to my bones that not only crush me, but makes even holding up my arms feel 10 times harder than it should. And the more I do, the more it hurts. Eventually, my brain fogs and I can't remember anything clearly or string a sentence together properly. And once that happens, I'm forced back into bed. And I can stay here sometimes for weeks. Too tired to go on my phone for a distraction, but in too much pain to be able to sleep. And so I just lie here and wait for it to pass. I have a chronic illness called ME. It's a neurological condition that causes extreme fatigue that does not get better with rest or sleep. Like most illnesses, ME is a spectrum, meaning that some people can suffer mildly, being able to do most of the activities regular people can do, like being on this wall. On the other side of the spectrum, you have those suffering with severe or extremely severe ME, and for those people, they spend the majority of their time essentially bedbound, unable to care for themselves in any capacity, often experiencing extreme pain and a sensitivity to light that forces them to spend days at a time in the dark. I am somewhere on the milder side of this spectrum, which means that thankfully that's only my reality for a very small amount of time. But that's not the case for a lot of people suffering with ME. No one knows for certain why some people develop ME, but for a lot of us, it comes following a severe infection of some kind, like a disease or a virus. When I was 18, I made a YouTube video talking about how I had caught glandular fever, or mono, and ended up in hospital. What I didn't know at the time was that my body would never really recover, and I've had ME ever since. At first, it was really bad. I couldn't stand for longer than an hour without needing to sleep for 8. I was in pain all the time, and my glands were so swollen, I just looked like a big puffy sponge. I had to postpone going to university, which, I won't lie, broke my heart, because whilst I could see all of my friends meeting new people and making new memories during their freshers week, I was led in my bed in pain, alone. But in the first 6 months, it got better really fast. I could increase my activity levels to 4 hours standing up without needing to nap, which, believe me, is no small feat. And I should know, I've got size 6s. But after 6 months had passed, it kind of stagnated. I expected that I should be back to my regular, usual active self, and I wasn't. I was still sleeping a ridiculous amount. I was still experiencing muscle pain. I had a sensitivity to light that meant I had to wear sunglasses indoors. Honestly, who did I think I was? It was at that point that I went back to the doctors and they said, yeah, you've probably got ME, love. Minus the love bit, because that'd probably be inappropriate. The thing that I learned once I spoke to the doctors was that ME is not just triggered by physical exertion, but emotional and mental exertion too. So if you're feeling overworked or stressed, that could also cause a flare-up of CFS, meaning that if I ever felt a little bit icky, well, it could be a bit of a disaster. As time went on, I realized I could reduce the number of CFS flare-ups I had by using a technique called pacing, which is essentially just where you limit or prohibit certain activities based on your energy levels for that day. Some people find it easier to visualize using spoons. In the spoons analogy, spoons represent energy, and everyone starts the day with the same amount of spoons. So in this case, 12, because that's all I had in my cupboard. Each different activity will cost you a different number of spoons depending on how much energy that activity requires. Getting out of bed will cost you 1 spoon. Whereas going to uni, school, or work, that'll cost you 4. Now, pacing comes along when you reduce the number of spoons you have depending on how you're feeling on a given day. For example, if you get a less than optimal night's sleep, you lose a spoon. If you have a cold or you're stressed, you lose a spoon. You're now left with only 10 spoons. How are you going to spend them? You still have to get out of bed, that's 1 spoon. You still have to brush your teeth. Say on this day you have a shower as well. That's going to cost you 1, and you've got to get dressed because otherwise you're going to get arrested for public indecency. You're now left with 6 spoons. Let's assume it's a weekday and you still have to go to school or work. That's 4 spoons gone. You are now only left with 2 spoons. We know that making yourself a nutritious meal will cost you 3, meaning that you don't have the energy for that. So maybe you choose to make a slightly subpar meal and just go to bed. That's gonna cost you 2 spoons and you're done for the day. When I am at my healthiest, I also have 12 spoons, but it takes a lot less than what it would for a healthy person for me to lose a spoon. For example, 8 hours sleep isn't enough for me. If I get less than 10, I will lose 1. If I am sick, I might lose 2 instead of 1, because these things have a larger impact on my body. I am aware of this, and so I lower the amount of spoons that I have to spend depending on that. And for the most part, it works, and I can avoid a full-blown flare-up. But just to show you what it looks like when I have a full-blown CFS flare-up, I don't have 12 spoons, I don't have 8 or even 5. If my CFS flare-up is really bad, I might have only 1.
This is why I'm incredibly grateful to my family and my partner who step up to help me when I have a crash. They cook all my meals, they help me take my pain meds on time, sometimes spoon feeding me soup. I get these flare-ups or crashes once a month or once every other month if I'm lucky, and they can last an uncertain amount of time, but usually mine are around a week. Now imagine for a moment that your partner or family have to do every single thing for you, everything, for 1 week, every single month. It's incredibly easy to see how you could feel like your existence is a burden. And not only do you feel like a burden, you feel lonely. I miss so much. I miss parties, events, things that were once in a lifetime opportunities that I will never get again. I miss travel days, I miss birthdays. I feel like I let so many people down, not just my friends whose plans I bail on last minute, but my partner and my family too, because I feel that I am constantly a burden to them by not getting better fast enough or getting sick too often, even though these are things I cannot control. And it makes me angry at myself, at the world. It's hard not to feel angry when you can't do anything, when you're just led in bed in pain, staring at the ceiling, trapped in your own body. And then suddenly I'm not, and I'm me again. I'm a person that you see when you click on an Ellbat video. I'm pursuing my hobbies and going to the gym. And because of that, because I don't look sick all the time, I think I was worried to tell people that I had ME, because I didn't want people to think I was faking it, that I was just being lazy or doing it for attention. ME is debilitating. It's life-altering in many cases, and the pain that is brought on by this condition is only made worse when people don't believe that it's real. Because there isn't a cure, I have to assume that this will be the rest of my life. I will be hyper-aware of every plan I make and action I take so that I don't risk overdoing it. And that's the reality for 17 to 24 million people worldwide suffering with ME, most of whom you wouldn't even know were suffering because you only see them on their best days. I'm sick. It doesn't define me, but it is part of me. And it's a part that I decided I wanted to share with you. Oh, my legs are dead. Ah, my legs have gone numb. Oh, Christ.